would love in his life, And when he was removing from office, he was told by Chongo and others, you remove this guy, crown ikitolewa ni mabati. This guy is only popular because he has a position. The people of the mountain are not interested in people. They are interested in positions. Once you get rid of him, that's it. 2-3 weeks, you'll never hear about him. But he didn't know the mountain because he's not one of us. And I told him, the people of the mountain hate betrayal. Betrayal has no remedy in the mountain. It's punished unapologetically. And even him, and he knows, he was a beneficiary of the community's distaste for betrayal. When the people of the mountain felt like Uhuru Kenyatta had betrayed him, they decided to punish Uhuru Kenyatta for betraying William Ruto and elect William Ruto as president. And I told him that time when we were just arguing, when I saw where he's going, I advised him. I said, my brother, I think you are making a mistake of your life. These mountain people hate betrayal. You are a beneficiary of the community's distaste for betrayal, and you are not one of them. They have punished one of their own to affirm you, and you are not one of their own. If you betray their own and you are not one of their own, they will punish you 100 times. What I told him has come to pass. Today, I was seeing meetings in Thika. His allies will not speak. None. Not Ichungwa, not Alice Nganga, not Muratha. None could be allowed to say anything. And what he doesn't know, those people have nothing against Ichungwa. They have nothing against Alice Nganga, nothing against Muratha. They were sending a message to him. But because he's president and our people respect authority, they don't shout him down. They shout his allies down, but they are sending a message to him. We are through with you. You betrayed the mountain. Nobody betrays the mountain and gets away with it. Okay. So let me once more say that that was his script. And I saw it later on when the first 1 year is when I started seeing signs that I had been betrayed, I was unwanted, and I would be shafted. But I put my foot down, I did what I needed to do. The rest is history.
So do you and the president hate each other?
I don't hate anybody myself, but I hate his actions. Abductions and extrajudicial killings, I hate because I'm a Christian. The 10 Commandments tells us, thou shalt not kill. I was very bitter with abductions and extrajudicial killings, and that is what made us disagree completely. And that is when he decided I must leave. Do you remember when the finance bill came, I told him this thing is unacceptable. And the people of Kenya will not take it. And if you insist, there will be rejection and we shall be left with an egg on our face. Please, don't force it. He decided to force it. When it was forced, people say no. And then the GNCs came up with a protest. Then, in the National Security Council, a decision was made, and I sat there to clamp them down. And I said, no, I disagree with that decision. I said, let's listen to these young people. They have a point. And what they are saying is what the whole country is saying. He said, no. So, on June 25th, when the kids were massacred in Parliament, he called a press conference at night and said that these kids are criminals and they are treasoners, and he'll crush them. Still being in office, I went to Mombasa and called a counter press conference, and I told him off. I said, you can't kill these people. They have a right to say what they are saying, and these kids are not criminals. They are my sons and daughters. We should listen to them. That is what brought the cameras back. We never talked again. We would talk through SMS, through WhatsApp messages, because he felt it was total insubordination, and he felt I had ridiculed him publicly. But I needed to give a position to our young people and the Kenyan people that I was not part and parcel of abductions and killing children. I could not be party to it, and I had to disown it publicly, because if I didn't disown it publicly, today I will be carrying that burden. My hands will be full with blood of the GNCs. I'm very happy that I was vindicated. I talked, everybody heard me. Today, nobody can blame me for those killings.
Okay, but I'd ask, like, when did you start becoming uncomfortable with the extrajudicial killings? Like, do you know a specific period?
Yeah. I think I think around April 2024.
Because the reason why I'm asking you that is Ruto's acceptance speech talked about extrajudicial
Yes, he
killings.
did.
And he talked about the extrajudicial killings under Uhuru.
He did.
So that means that these extrajudicial killings were happening. Remember? So he said that this new government is going to come and they're not going to be extrajudicial. Then in 2023, remember there were protests, mostly in Kisumu and what? There were a lot of extrajudicial killings. Those are the people who got compensation this week from the courts. So do you understand why when you say you are against extrajudicial killings, it does not make sense to the average Kenyan? Because you're like, that was happening. It did start in 2024.
William Ruto and I were on the same page initially. We had promised the people of Kenya that extrajudicial killings will be a thing of the past and the use of the criminal justice system to settle politics will never happen. Yes. And that is why it was in his inauguration speech. We were on the same page. As soon as we got into office, I started seeing this bad habit creeping back. And I told him, respectively, in private, boss, these are the things we promise, and things are getting out of hand. Please, let us not go into that direction. He didn't listen. So as we went on in early 2024, I started getting reports and concerns that a special squad of 101 people had been formed for the purposes of abductions and extrajudicial killings. And I told him no. So one day, the Attorney General of the Republic of Kenya then, the Honorable Justin Bidad Muturi, came to see me as Deputy President. William Ruto was out of town. And he told me, my brother, my own child has been abducted. I have tried to call the IG. He is taking me into circles. I have called the DCI. He is taking me around. I have talked to the PS Interior. He's just taking him into circles. I have talked to the Director General of National Intelligence Service. He's not telling me anything. I have talked to Kindiki, who is the CS Interior. He's just lying to me. I am very unhappy. And I've come to complain to you as Deputy President.
This is 2024, yes?
2024.
Yes, because the reason I'm asking is 2023. In 2023, I don't know if you remember, but there was this even headline that Rigathi Gachagua is planning mayhem against protesters. That's Raila who said that. So this was around the 26th of March, 2023. There's a statement I remember you made where...
That was an accusation.
Do you expect... No, you asked, like, do you expect the police to kiss the protesters?
No.
Yeah?
That was an accusation.
But you understand what that means? It means that when you're in government, you didn't have a problem with... Because a lot of protesters were killed.
I had a big problem. I am a very strong believer in the rule of law. And stopping protests is one thing. Killing is another. I don't believe in killing. Protesters can be dispersed using necessary force, which is allowed by law. As Deputy President, you are not in charge of security. The security architecture of this country. The President is the chairman of the National Security Council. Deputy President sits there as a member. All the security agencies, the IG, the DCI, the Director of National Intelligence Service, the Director of Military Intelligence, the service commanders in the Army, Air Force, and Navy are appointees of the President. And it is him who gives directions. The Deputy President can only intervene in security matters if given specific duties and instructions by the President. Those duties were never given to me at any one time. And I was a very great defender of the President in the first 1 year because I believed in him. And Raila and others felt that I was very strong, so they were in the habit of blaming me for anything that is going wrong. But going forward, as I've told you, when the AG came to complain to me, I told him to take up the matter with the President. And I monitored for him, and as soon as the President was back in the city, I told the AG, go and see him. He went and faced him, and his son was released. And from there, I went and told him this is wrong. So that by the time we were getting to June 25th, myself and the President were not on the same page in matters abductions and extrajudicial killings. And my public statement on June 26th in Mombasa is on record that I'm not opposing extrajudicial killings because I'm out of government. I opposed when I was deputy president in office. And I was removed from office 4 months later. And this is one of the things that accelerated my removal. That is one of the things that made my relationship with the president very sore.
Okay. So during the same Maandamano of 2024, unfortunately, there are people who attacked former President Uhuru Kenyatta's farm, and there were accusations that you were involved in that. Was it true? And if not, then who would you say was in charge? Because the people accusing you are people you sat with.
It is not true, because I never uttered anything to that effect. If you check, internet don't forget. The majority leader in the National Assembly, the Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah, told Uhuru Kenyatta, is on video, that kama wewe hapana simamisha kutoa pesa ya kupanga maandamano, tutavamia hiyo mashamba yako na tuyachukue. 3 weeks down the later, mashamba ikavamiwa. Where do you blame Rigathi Gachagua? Did Rigathi Gachagua make any such utterance? I didn't. I am a very responsible leader, and I am a protector of property. I don't destroy property, because I look for property. I'm a builder. I believe in building. I don't believe in destruction. Uhuru Kenyatta was president of the Republic of Kenya. He retired. And once our politics were over, I let him be. And I never attacked him. In fact, I went ahead to apologize to him for utterances that I made during the campaign period, because I found those utterances to a great extent were necessary and were too offensive. And since the campaign period was over, I did what a responsible leader does, and an elder for that matter. Uhuru Kenyatta is a senior elder in my community. I'm a junior elder in the community. And I felt that I had uttered words that were injurious to him and quite, disturbing to him and his family. And I offered a public apology. When I was deputy president, I did not do it when I left office. I could not plan or have any reason whatsoever to attack the farms of President Uhuru Kenyatta. But Kimani Ichung'wah is on record threatening to invade the farms of President Uhuru Kenyatta. And 3 weeks after, in fact, that accusation he made at Kenyaga High School, where I had invited him as an old boy, that is where he uttered the threats. And 3 weeks later, the farms were attacked. Kimani Ichung'wah is very close to President William Ruto. So your guess is as good as mine as to who could have authorized for the attack on the farm of President Uhuru Kenyatta.
So are you guys in good terms with former president? Because earlier in the week, we also saw the deputy party leader of his party, Jubilee, coming to see you. And is there a handshake that's coming between you and the former president?
Uhuru Kenyatta and I are brothers. He's my older brother. For your information, I served as personal assistant of President Uhuru Kenyatta for 7 years. I believed in him and his leadership long before other Kenyans believed in his leadership. We have been brothers. He has come to this home. I've been to his home. Our children are friends. Me and President Kenyatta are brothers. But along the way in politics, when I decided to support William Ruto against his wish, we differed politically. And it was very acrimonious, as it goes in politics. But after we won and Raila Odinga lost, that was over. It is me who made the first step. I took the very courageous step to apologize to President Uhuru Kenyatta for whatever I could have said that offended him. And it was forgiven. And I have no issue with President Uhuru Kenyatta. In fact, I'm shocked people keep on saying that we need to do a handshake with President Uhuru Kenyatta. What shake for what? We are brothers. We are easy. And the issue of family, you cannot keep on asking, are you in good books with your brother? We are brothers. And we have had a long political history. And today, Uhuru Kenyatta is retired. I'm his greatest defender. If you have followed our news, anytime he is attacked, I defend him, because I believe he is a Kenyan statesman who did 10 good years, served his country well with the dedication. He has taken retirement, and I am of the opinion that we need to let him retire in peace and enjoy his retirement with his children and his grandchildren. That's what I sincerely believe.
Sorry, I have to take you back. There's something I had to check very fast. When you talk of J.B. Muturi's son being abducted, you said he came to you, J.B. Muturi. Why didn't he go to Ruto?
I'm saying J.B. Muturi did the right thing. He first talked to the DCI.
Yes.
He took him in circles. He talked to the IG. He took him in circles. He talked to the DG NIS. He took him in circles.
Yes.
He talked to the PS. He took him in circles. He talked to Kindiki. So he was just following the chain of command. Then he came to me. Because that's normally the way you do these things. You don't just go to the president directly. You talk to the people who work for him. And he came to me as deputy president to tell me his concern. And when I listened to what he was saying, and being private to what was going on, because I had known as code had been formed, I told him the buck stops with the president because he's the one who authorized the formation of that union. So I said, face the guy head on. And when he faced him head on, sure as December 25 is Christmas, the president made one call because he knew whom to call. He called the DGDs, and Muturi's son was released. So
Okay,
I gave
'cause I
Muturi
think-
the best advice.
I think I'd misunderstood you because it's like you'd said you told him you'd tell him when Ruto is back, because I was checking that and I saw Ruto.
No, Ruto was out of town.
No, this one says Ruto was in Kenya when the
No,
the
out of town. I said out of town. I didn't say out of the country. He was out of town.
Yeah.
He was not in Nairobi. He had gone to some place up country. And my security and Ruto's security is one. They are one of the presidential escort. So I'm quite aware of his movement. So I told him I'll monitor. As soon as he comes back, I'll let you know. So I told my security, let me know when the president is headed to State House. So when he took off from where he was, my people told me he has taken off. He'll take 35 minutes. So I called JB. I said, in 40 minutes, be at State House. He'll be there. And he went and found him.
Because another thing that's been said is if you had to look at what's his name, Ruto used to have, and I heard some of your political partners right now talk about his anger issues, where he was angry at some point, threatened to slap Uhuru. But also for you, the stories that we had were when the rift started happening between you and him, you'd bang his table and you'd be disrespectful. Understand? So there was the story of you'd be disrespectful. I think the figure was you wanted 4,000 shillings for every voter from the mountain, and you demanded that. And that's how, and then you have, like, when I spoke with Itumbi, and Itumbi was saying that you are petty. Like, you even used to fight with them as junior
I
staff.
don't want to discuss it, Tumbi. That's a very junior blogger.
Yes, but I'm just saying.
I cannot discuss it, Tumbi.
Yes.
I think it's
but-
disrespectful to even ask me to discuss it, Tumbi.
But no,
I am a
he's the one.
presidential- My
He's the
friend,
one who was saying.
I'm a presidential candidate.
Yes.
I can only talk about William Ruto, my competitor.
Okay.
I think it is not appropriate to ask me to talk about State House
Okay,
bloggers.
let's talk about Itumbi. No, let's talk about Ruto. So with that, do you feel like if you went to him and demanded things based on you having given him votes, don't you feel that was disrespectful? And that's the reason
Well,
why
I don't think to start with.
he needed to get rid of you. And also the fact that you remember you're saying that you felt like he always wanted to get rid of you. So there must have been something he didn't like about you.
Well, to start with, it's a lie.
Yeah.
I did not ask him for any money. And if I did, it should have been one of the grounds of my impeachment. It wasn't, because it's not true. It's just a lie. The guy is a liar. He has given so many reasons why he got rid of me, depending on where he is. When he goes to Nyanza, he says I was demanding shares for the mountain to the exclusion of the Luo nation. Okay? When he goes to Western, he says I was opposing development for the Luyas to the benefit of the mountain. When he comes to the mountain, he says I was demanding money from him. That is why he got rid of me. He has so many different reasons that he keeps on giving. And if those reasons were true, I believe they would have been among the charges in the impeachment. They were not. Yeah? Nobody demanded a cent from him, and I had no reason to demand a cent from him. I disagreed with him on matters of principle. And it was... extrajudicial killings, abductions, theft of public resources, tribalism, nepotism, running a one-man show government and not giving anybody else a chance to contribute to the management of the affairs of the country. Yet you are elected. You know me, I was not an appointee like Ndiki. I was elected by the people. I was not his employee. And he's not the one who gave me the job. He proposed my name and the people of the Kenya gave me the job. I had a responsibility to the people of Kenya, and I found we are losing it. And today, my friend, William Ruto was elected on a very popular platform. 3 years down the line, everybody is saying he must go. And that is the issue I was raising with him. How come that we came in on a popular mandate? Everybody is baying for our blood. Let us retrace our steps. Let us listen to the people.
But the tribalism part, he's always used it against you, even like with some of the speeches he's having. But you see how that he can. You remember there was a clip also of Methu, where Methu was saying, "Angalia jina, ukiona Kipruto, uneka tik. Ukiona Mwangi, uneka tik. Ukiona Onyango, hey. Then he was saying, and then you talked about shareholders. So don't you feel like if we were to talk about one person who was tribal, we can't put that on Ruto. We'd have to put it on you because you're the one who talked
about nothing like
shareholders.
Let me tell you, my brother, it's nothing like tribalism in coalition building. Ruto was a product of the Rift Valley and the mountain. People of Northeastern rejected him. People of Coast rejected him. People of Western Kenya rejected him. People of Nyanza rejected him. People of Nairobi rejected him. He was elected by the people of the Rift Valley and the mountain. And therefore, we had an agreement on how we'll share government. And when he started shortchanging me, I was saying, no, give me what tribe belongs to me and my people, because we had an agreement. He had a shareholding agreement with the people of Western Kenya. And he did not honor, because they also did not honor. They had promised to give him 70% of their votes. And in return, he had promised so many things. So when they did not honor, he refused to honor. But on my part, we honored what we had agreed. He had asked for 70% of our vote. He got 87%. So I was entitled to get what we had agreed.
What did you want specifically?
No, we had agreed many things. Positions, guaranteed minimum return for our cash crops, coffee, tea, and milk. We had agreed the completion of Mau roads. We had agreed on construction of 18 dams in the mountain. We had agreed that the people of the mountain will not be sacked, even those appointed by Uhuru Kenyatta, and where he felt uncomfortable with those who had been picked by Uhuru Kenyatta, we will change them one for one. And that's what we did in Meru. When he said he doesn't want Kenoti, we exchanged with the Kome. And it was like that until the second year, he started backtracking on those agreements. And then I started fighting.
Do you think that is fair for other people in the country? Because I understand it's a coalition, but in a country where we have 44 tribes, is that a fair way of doing politics?
You know, my dear Sarah, politics is a game of interest.
That's true.
Today, ODM are demanding 50% of government. And nobody is calling them tribal. Nobody is saying that they want to be shares. Those ODM characters are the ones who removed me from office. And the accusation is that I am preaching the gospel of shareholding. Today, they are the most loudest and noisiest that they're asking for 50%. Is it fair?
Okay,
That's what they're asking. Because they are saying, William Ruto, if you want the votes from ODM, this is irreducible minimum. We want 50% shares of your government. We want the deputy president. Take it or leave it. And they are doing it because they are the only ones who want to back Ruto. Everybody else has left. So they are in a very strong position to demand as much as they can. And that is what happened to us in 2022. Nobody else wanted Ruto except the mountain. So we said, fine, since we are the only guys who want you, what are you giving us in return? And we agreed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Initially he gave us, then he started slowly backtracking. And then we had a fight because I was a custodian on the mountain interest. The people of the mountain trusted me to be their custodian.
I want us to move this conversation forward. Just understanding the way Kenyan politics works, I would want to know, why do you want to be president? And why should the Kenyan people trust you?
Well, I think I want to be president because I've got great ideas on how we can make this country great. I have experience. I served as deputy president for 2 years. And I have first-hand experience on how Ruto lost it. I know what needs to be done. One, you must listen to the people. You must govern people the way they want to be governed, because essentially a president is an employee. And ordinarily, an employee listens to the employer. So the Kenyan people are the employers. So continuously, you must engage them. and listen to what they want. Number two, the people of Kenya do not want corruption. I am persuaded that to deal with corruption in this country, it must start from the top. You must have a president who cannot entertain corruption. Once the president says no to corruption, corruption will just end.
How are you planning to do that?
Just by myself saying no to corruption. It's the only thing you need to do, by the way. Once the president says no to corruption, I don't want corruption in this country. And it starts with me as president. I will not get involved in corrupt activities. That's the end of the corruption. That's the formula of finishing corruption in this country. But once the president has dipped his fingers into the public purse, he opens the door for everybody, and he can never stop anybody. Once you call PSs and ministers to give contracts to your cronies, the remaining jobs after they give you your cronies, they give their cronies. If you take money, the way money has been stolen, 10 billion, through e-citizen, and I told people, e-citizen has been captured by William Ruto. Today, you saw the papers, the Auditor General is saying, 10 billion has been stolen. So if 10 billion has been stolen from the top, what stopped the small people also from stealing 1 million, 2 million? The way to deal with corruption in this country, the president must say no to corruption. Today, regarding Gachagua left office, nobody can accuse him of any corrupt activity that he has been involved in this country, because I never got myself involved in corruption. And I'm a very proud leader. And you know the kind of viciousness William Ruto has against me. If I had stolen a shilling, it will be everywhere. I will be in court today.
So you didn't steal nothing?
Nothing. And if I did, I am telling you, I will be in court. It will be news everywhere. That is why they have to look for other nonsense to say that I have stolen from the family. I don't know you have stolen from where. The president should be concerned if I have stolen from the public, because he's a public figure. And his work is to look after public funds, not to pretend families, not to pretend private hospitals like Nairobi Hospital. That is not his business. He should get concerned about the failures in Kenyatta National Hospital. There are no blood banks. The cancer machine is not working. There is no food for the patients. There are no reagents in the laboratory. There is nothing. Then he is saying he is a patron of Nairobi Hospital, a private hospital that is doing well. Who is the patron of Kenyatta National Hospital? He is the one, because it's a public hospital, and he is elected by the people of Kenya.
We were planning to talk about that when you're talking about health, but since we were talking about your presidency, you see, every time you utter and you say things like the people of the mountain, it's about interest, it's about what? Do you know that you alienate a very huge chunk of the country? Because the country thinks you ended up with the second highest office in the country. And when you're in the second highest office in the country, you are basically a heartbeat away from the presidency. It means that at that point, your interest should never be about a community, should never be about a region, should always be about Kenya. Do you understand that? Like the concept of Kenya as a country, where it does not matter if you are Luo, Kikuyu, what. Like right now, if you look at this room, there are a lot of different tribes.
I know.
And when those tribes hear you talking about the mountain being betrayed, they're like, no, we want to hear someone talk about Kenya being betrayed. Because even Kenya has been betrayed. Corruption is still there. The hospitals are not, they don't have medicine. Budgets are inflated everywhere. So when can we hear Rigathi Gachagua talk about Kenya
without for Kenya every day,
without the mount? Because you see, the mount is always there,
no,
and that's
only,
where the problem
it's only
comes.
You ask me about the mountain because you are in the mountain.
Yes.
Ask me about Kenya every day. Every day.
That's when
every day, my brother.
Yes.
E-citizen, I've talked about it for a long time.
Yes,
it does not affect the mountain people. It affects the whole country. When I talk about tea, I was in charge of tea reforms. Tea is not just in the mountain, it's in the whole country. When I talk about dealings with RSF, a rebel group from Sudan, that has affected our image as a country, I'm talking about Kenya. When I was fighting drug and substance abuse, I held meetings in Mombasa. I held meetings in Kericho. I held meetings in Meru. I held meetings in Nairobi. It was for the whole country. I served the people of Kenya. And even in my politics today,
yes,
I am talking about Kenya.
Which I don't dispute. You see, right now, you remember there was the campaign, Kufa Dereva, Kufa Makanga, around the time when you were being impeached, where people were saying that if we have to impeach you, then we have to impeach the president. Why people were saying that? Because they felt like the pair of you had failed the country. At that point, we didn't see Gachagua as the savior. After you left, sasa we ni moja wetu. So of course, sasa tuko, hey, you are our savior. But you see, during all that time, tukikusikiza, it was always about the mountain has been betrayed. It's never been Kenya.
We were just complaining politically.
Kenya has been betrayed.
We were just complaining politically.
Yes.
And I have told you the mountain has been betrayed. Kenya too has been betrayed.
And that's what we want to hear.
No,
Kenya, how has Kenya been betrayed?
Kenya has been betrayed. One, William Ruto promised to put money into people's pockets. Instead, he dipped his hand in their pocket. And the little they had, he took it away through unreasonable taxation. And the money that have been taken from people has not been used prudently for the purpose for which it was collected. That is the money that is being used to bribe people in State House, to bribe people in meetings. I've been talking about it. When I have talked about the sale of national assets, Bomas of Kenya, Kenya Pipeline, those are not in the mountain. Those are national institutions. And I've talked about it. I've talked about them. And when I say SHA is not working, SHA is not working, not just in the mountain. It's not working anywhere, including Bomet and Kericho, where Ruto comes from. I have been talking about it. I was in Bomet the other day, and I talked to the people of Bomet, and I told them they are suffering just like other Kenyans are suffering. 2 days ago, I had a radio talk show called Ramogi with the people of Nyanza. And presenters there were refusing to allow me to talk about the issues that affect the people of Nyanza. They wanted to discuss regarding Gachagua as a person. And I was pleading with them to allow me speak about issues that affect the people of Nyanza region. I have been very clear in my mind that Kenya is bigger than all of us, and I talk for the people of Kenya. I want to be the president of Kenya. I don't want to be the president on the mountain. There is no such position, but I come from somewhere. And those people, like other Kenyans, deserve somebody to talk for them, just like I talk for other regions. But I want to confirm that my agitation, my politics, is in the defense of the Kenyan people, the sovereignty of our country, our image as a country, our territorial integrity, the dignity of the payslip. I have been very vocal that the payslip has been eroded. All workers in public and private sectors have no purchasing power. There have been more than 40% of their salary have been deducted through taxes that are being used to do politics and extravagance in State House. When Uhuru Kenyatta was president, the budget of State House was 4.5 billion. William Ruto has taken it from 4.5 billion to 17 billion. And that money is for lagis, is for luxury, and for blaming people who come to State House. These are Kenyan issues. I don't think they are issues of the mountain.
Okay. One of the biggest problems the country faces, as he was asking how we've been betrayed as a country, I feel is in the issue of debt. And today, Kenya's debt stands at 12.3 trillion. You want to be president. How would you deal with Kenya's debt?
Well, admittedly, we have to carry over the public debt because it was incurred. Whether through the right decisions or not, is a debt we have to pay. And there is no we can default. We have to pay the debt. But we must make sure that we stop borrowing more unnecessarily by doing what is necessary. For example, the work of a government is to offer services. We don't want governments building houses for people. Those are private matters. You build a house, 1 room, 2 room, 3 bedroom, depending on your need and your capacity to build. What the government should do is build roads, provide water, provide electricity, provide sewage, drainage, provide security. Mwai Kibaki, the greatest president of our time, never did housing as a government program. He never spent government funds to do housing. But the man who did the housing that we enjoy in Nairobi today is Mwai Kibaki. How did he do it? He didn't do it directly. He opened up the bypasses and put good roads, electricity, water, and sewage, and the houses came up on their own.
But the houses are not done with borrowing as it is, because that's our tax.
What happens?
People.
What
so
happens?
how would you deal with it?
What happens, why you have to borrow, is you look at your revenue and you decide the things you want to do in a budget. When the revenue is not enough to do the things you have decided to do, you have to borrow so that you get the deficit. So what you do, you stop unnecessary expenditure so that even if you have to borrow, you borrow very little. And the way to do things in this country, in my view, a responsible government should concentrate on education, healthcare, security, road network, clean water, electricity, and communication. The rest of the things, you leave them to the private sector. And an economy is very dynamic. Once you provide the services that are basic, that the people of Kenya require to be provided by their government, you let people do business. If you do remember, during the time of Mwai Kibaki, there was a lot of money available to the Kenyan people to do business. If you remember, if you went to Nairobi near a bank, there were many tents there in a mall, one by Standard Bank, one by Barclays, one by Equity, with some nice-looking girls, well-dressed, asking you, come, we want you to borrow. Banks were looking for people to lend money to do business. Today, the government is borrowing from the banks. And the banks would like to lend to the government because it's very safe, because there is no risk. So the government is competing with the private sector for whatever money is available for lending. We want the government to borrow less, especially domestic borrowing. Borrow less. Let the money market be available to the private sector. And these are the people who make the economy grow. And Mwai Kibaki perfected that, because he was a great economist from the London School of Economics. He allowed the private sector to thrive. And there was less and less government in people's lives. Government's work was to provide infrastructure, security, and a good environment for business to thrive. Now, William Ruto has done housing by government. He has killed the private sector. And it's a huge sector, the real estate sector. Those fellows now have no job to do. Everything is being done by government. And the government houses are being done to provide an opportunity for people in power to sell cement, to sell steel, to sell tiles to the people who are doing the affordable housing. Therefore, government has stifled the private sector. We must allow the private sector to thrive. That's the way to build a country and to build an economy.
I would just want to understand your plan of paying this debt, because you see, every time a new government comes in, the debt keeps accumulating, but the payment formula is never clear to us as citizens.
Agree.
So what policy do you have in place?
One, Sarah, you do the basic law of survival. When you are in a hole, the first thing you do, you stop digging. Then you figure out how to come out. But when you are in a hole, you cannot continue digging. The first thing you have to do is to stop that borrowing. And then you figure out how to pay what is outstanding. But if you find we have 12 point something outstanding trillion, and you are still borrowing more every day, you will never get out of the debt. So to start with, we stop unnecessary expenditure. Opulence. Avalanche. You have seen the deputy president has a budget of 450 million for helicopters to fly around the country. What for? You have seen State House has a budget for hospitality for 5 billion, for entertaining people who are coming for delegations. What for? Mwai Kibaki never held hosted delegation in State House.
But they would argue you didn't even stop it when you're in office also.
No, I'm just saying we were doing things the way the president wanted them to be done. In fact, he was accusing me of not hosting delegations. I had a very minimal budget myself for hospitality, 70 million only. I have seen the present guy is asking for 400 million for hospitality. President was accusing me of not hosting delegations. By the way, I never used to host delegations. I only used to have IBEC, where I would meet the governors. It's a constitutional duty that is in the office of the deputy president. I would meet farmers for tea, for coffee. My meetings were working meetings. I never held a single political delegation, like what Ruto and Kidiki are doing. They are having delegation from Meru. They are having delegation from Turkana. They are having delegation from Trans Nzoia to come and discuss politics. I want you to check. For the time I was in office, I never held a single political delegation. Anytime I needed to host a political delegation, they came here to Amonyoro, at my home, where I entertained them from my private savings, because this is my home. But I never, at the official residence, held a single official delegation for purposes of politics.
Okay, so before he comes in line with that, there was an issue about the DP's budget and the office of the wife's budget. And the Standard had a story where when you're in office, there's a time you needed 1.59 bill for office of the wife, second wife, which I think up to date goes on because there was a story the other day about it. Why do we need the office of the second wife as a country?
Well, one, we had a request of 1.5 billion. A request is a request, and that's what happens in budget. You ask for this, you are not given what you have asked, you are given what is available. We are given 590 million. The office of the spouse of the deputy president, I found it there. I did not create it. It was there when Ruto was the deputy president for 10 years. So when we came, we found that office had been set up. And when we came with Pastor Dorcas, she identified a program to do. And I think it was a good program. I think the money was well spent. She came up with a program on fighting addiction, to drug abuse and rehabilitation. And through that program, a lot of lives were saved. Very many young boys were assisted. She came up with a program for PWD and for widows, wajane na mayatima. And I think it was a good program. Along the way, William Ruto removed that budget. That program died. Today, all the boys Gachagua had rehabilitated, most of them are back into drinking. It was a good program. I don't think essentially there is anything wrong with having activities of a spouse of a social nature that is not anything the government can address on a daily basis. Things to do with humanity, things to do with empathy, and you cannot say that those issues don't need to be addressed. The issue of the boy child, the issue of drug addiction is a serious issue. And if you are around in this country, it's a serious crisis. And many Kenyans miss mama boys because many people were afraid to talk about their children having drug addiction because of the stigma. But when Mama Gachagua started talking about it, even very senior people, approached her to say, Mama, we have a problem here. We have been shy to acknowledge that our children are having a problem. And as we speak today, the boy child is under siege. Our kids have very many mental challenges. The level of depression in this country. There have been very many suicides by our young people because of peer pressure, because of lack of jobs, because of economic challenges. Somehow, somebody must address those challenges. There must be some Kenyans somewhere who can address that challenge. The issue of kids out in the streets who have been taking hard drugs and they need a motherly attention, somebody must do it. And I'm very proud that when I was in office for 2 years, my spouse, Pastor Dorcas, filled that gap. And Kenyans were very happy. She was the darling of the Kenyan people. And many people have been asking. Even now, we are doing it on a smaller scale. We don't have a government budget. We have some money for ourselves as individuals. We have many friends who support us. Even now, we want to do some fundraising to try to raise about 100 million for Pastor Dorcas to continue doing what she was doing with the boy child. Try to help those young people to see whether they can get back on their feet and they can live a life of their own.
Okay.
So I'll have to take you back to some of the criticisms that you give Ruto, and you've just talked about it. Affordable housing, yes? You're talking about how this is just a scheme for Ruto to get rich. But if you go back in time, in 2023, you were quoted as telling people to ignore any naysayers when it comes to affordable housing.
Yes.
So you see, you used to support it. Right now, you're outside, you're not supporting it. Even in 2024, just before the budget, before your impeachment and before the fallout became public, you are still supporting the finance bill 2024.
No,
but then if you are to skip, we'd still go back to, you just talked about the budget for Uhuru State House, you said the budget was?
4.5.
And what was your budget when you are deputy president?
I think about 4 billion.
You see, 4.57. You understand? So this shows that when you are in a public office, you don't care about the wastage. When you're outside, you see the wastage. You see, that's also is the problem we have with the present government, where before Waingia, it's we are going to change this, we are going to change this as soon as you are inside. Because 4.57 for the deputy president's office.
And this, but you must know about that 4.5 billion.
This was for travel and hospitality was to be used, 1.8 billion was to be used on in something called the luxury budget. And this is something that I normally talk about. Like, we live in a third world country. We have Kenyans who, like right now as we talk, there's a Kenyan who slept hungry. How can the leaders have a luxury budget? You understand how it's such a slap in the face?
Let me
like, you know, like developed countries don't have luxury budgets.
Let me correct you. The budget for the office of the deputy president was in office was a wholesome budget. About 2 billion shillings was salaries for workers. And this is an office that has been set up with so many activities. We had coordination of international development partners, a very important program where you harness funds by the donors and unlock where there are challenges. That requires funding. We had funding for tea and coffee reforms, very, very important programs that are beneficial to the Kenyan farmers. We had a small budget for fighting alcoholism and drugs, you know. As far as I'm concerned, my hospitality budget was very little, if I can remember. My budget for traveling was quite little. In fact, for the longest, I tried to use military choppers that had no expense instead of hiring choppers. But I am saying the State House budget, most of it is hospitality, you know, and that is where we have a problem. Most of it is hospitality. Most of it is travel, you know. And I want to correct you. I opposed the finance bill from day one. I never supported the finance bill. And even when I went out and I advised MPs to listen to the ground, and they started fighting me. I say, my friend, this finance bill, before you commit yourself on the voting day in Parliament, listen to the ground, listen to the people. And I became very unpopular with the MPs because the president was coercing them to pass the finance bill. Only a fool does not change his mind. I'm not a fool. Life is dynamic. Life is not static. I want to tell you that President Ruto had convinced me and many other Kenyans that the housing program was a good thing, and it would create employment for very many young people, and it will settle people, you know, who have no housing. I was persuaded and I was defending it until it came to my knowledge, because I was part of government, that this was no longer the case. It was meant to collect money from Kenyan taxpayers so that there are enough houses to be built so that we can create business opportunities for selling cement, steel, and tiles. Again, I have told you my leadership is informed by listening to the people. What we thought is a good program, the people are saying no. I went to the president, I said, these people here are building houses, what they don't want. They don't want to be taxed. They want to be left to build their own houses. They want us to build schools. They want us to pay money to teach us to teach them. They want us to build roads. They want us to give them clean water. They want electricity. They are not interested in housing. So it doesn't mean because I was supporting something, even if I realize it is bad, I support it to the head. I must change my mind when there are enough reasons and circumstances to persuade me otherwise. That's the nature of life. You cannot just stick to one position. If there are glaring circumstances and factors telling you that the stand you have been having is ill-informed, and these are the new facts, can you change your mind and give a different position? Yes. William Ruto himself, he had told us Raila is a problem of this country. Along the way, he changed his mind and he said he's a good guy. That's how dynamic life is.
Yes, I understand that how life is dynamic, but I was just looking at that, like a lot of the things that you say you are against. We've learned about that after you left government. You see, like something like extrajudicial killings.
No, I spoke extrajudicial killing. I spoke when I was in government on the 26th of June. I would like you to Google in Mombasa as deputy president. I left office 4 months later. I spoke when I was in office.
Yes,
I condemned extrajudicial killing. I condemned the Director General of NIS. I condemned William Ruto when I was in office. I did not speak after I left office.
Yes,
I'd like you to check that.
Yes, but this was when the same extrajudicial killings happened in 2023. You didn't talk about it. Understand?
Well, I told you I was talking internally. I was deputy president. You don't fight with your boss publicly until you've come to the conclusion that it is not possible to correct him internally. I tried to correct him internally. So through persuasion, through reasoning, until we reached a place now, it became too much. I needed to speak out.
You don't remember the videos that used to be posted on your Instagram, Twitter, where you are going very early in the office because of protests. You understand?
I was not going early because of protests. I was going early every day.
Yes, but those was being looked at as a mockery to the protesters. And a lot of protesters lost their lives around that time. But even if we were to move from that, the reason why I was bringing up the protesters was to bring up the budget thing, where if we talk about wastage of public funds, and when I was looking at your budget here, the 4.57, part of it was to be used on furniture and cars, you understand? And when's the last time you changed this furniture? Why is government furniture always changed?
Well, I cannot. When I came to office, that the budget for that office had been cut for 5 years when Uhuru Kenyatta disagreed with William Ruto. There were no vehicles, or the vehicles were dilapidated, and we needed vehicles to move around the country, so we had to purchase new vehicles. That house and that office had not been renovated for 5 years. And if you don't renovate a house, it will crumble. Even these houses, we repair them every 2 years, because that's the nature of buildings. There must be maintenance of government buildings. Those offices had been neglected for 5 years. And when I came, I looked for a budget to have them renovated so that they are usable and they don't get wasted.
What was so bad that needed to be renovated?
Everything was bad.
Sorry to ask, but
the house was leaking. The house was leaking. The toilets were broken, and there was no borehole. It was broken. There was no water. The water was being brought by tankers. It was in very bad state.
So should we also assume that it's the same case with State House? Because we've seen the budget go up, but there have been renovations
State House
happening.
had not been neglected because Uhuru was there and it was well maintained. Yeah, he denied William Ruto money for 5 years, which was also not right because he was deputy president. The office had been denied budget for 5 years. So really, it was in very bad state. And it was necessary to have it restored so that the office can function normally.
How big is that office that needs billions to renovate?
There are no billions. There's no billions.
Needed
like
like
100 and something million.
But sasa tukiangalia hapa, these are the budgets we are seeing.
What is the budget?
Seeing like,
what is the budget for maintenance of office? It's 100 million.
Was it 100 million?
Yeah, it is.
Imeruka, but it
is.
When we look at this...
No, let's be specific. Don't say it's billions. Yeah. I believe it was 100 million.
Because what I know is you lost 1.8 billion for travel and hospitality. So you see, when we look at hospitality, we don't care if it's happening at State House or if it's happening in Wamunyoro. We look at the fact that it's coming from the
let's
taxpayer.
talk about maintenance of building, because you are saying it's billions.
No.
It's just about 100 billion.
Because here, I was looking at the budget. So your budget was 4.57 billion.
Yeah, but it is full of so many components, including salaries and allowances.
Let's go down. So this is brought back to 2.69 billion. So inclusive of salaries, how many employees did you have?
I can't remember.
You understand? And how much are they getting paid? Is each getting paid a million shillings? Because if we take 2.69 billion, if you have 1,000 employees, each would have to get around 2.69 million.
I don't think it is fair to ask me how many employees are there or how much they are paid, because I don't have such details. As deputy president, you have people who work under you. You have the chief of staff. You have people in human resource. An office is established by the Public Service Commission.
Yes.
It is not you who decides what is the establishment. And I did not start that office. That was an office that was functional for the last 10 years. It was not a new office.
Yes.
I found it going on, and employees there and were being paid before I came to office. They were being paid when I'm in office. And those are salaries that are not coming to me. The only thing you can ask me is my own salary, which is about 1 million shillings. The rest of the salaries go to other people. And they are public servants. And even when I left, they are still there.
Yes.
Yeah, they're still there.
I've Googled and it's 542 employees. And this is the things we'd have to ask, like, why do you need this amount of employees? And if they are taking up a salary that goes into billions, don't you see there's a certain level of incompetence that comes with that?
I think you are a bit unreasonable in the sense that you must know every office has a structure and an establishment that is approved by the Public Service Commission. That establishment is informed by the activities in that office.
Yes.
The office of the Deputy President has very many activities. And if there are 500 employees, somebody must have sat down and decided that that's the right establishment. That decision is not made by the Deputy President. That decision is made by the Public Service Commission.
But
so you cannot ask the person who was in that office why there are 500 employees, because that is not his decision.
But let me align it.
I'm asking you that because when you left office, you left with 108 people. What are 108 people advising you about? So these were like your advisors and officials.
No,
it's too much.
They were not 100. If there were 108.
That's how it was reported in the media.
Yeah, they sacked even the gardeners and the watchmen and the cooks and everybody who was there, who came when I was there, which was very unfair.
Street and senior
because
officers.
Then those are not PSC employees, of course.
They are PSC employees, but they were on contract, and the contract was tied to my contract. Okay? What happens is that when you come in, there are certain cadres that are tied to your contract. So when mine left, they were exited and others were brought in, which was very unfair. These gardeners, if you needed to punish regarding Gachagua, there was no need to punish the people who sweep around the compound. There is no need to punish the people who make tea, the people who are in communication, photographers, videographers. Those are the people who are sacked with me.
Because here it's written it's advisors and senior officers.
No. Advisors were very few.
How many?
I wouldn't know how many there were, but there were very few.
Yeah.
Extremely few.
Yeah,
the back of the people was communication and subordinate staff. People who are looking after the compound. It's a huge compound, almost 25 acres. People who are there. People who are cleaning cars, drivers, cooks, people who are in hospitality.
Why would those people have been employed by you directly? Because those ones should come with the office.
By the office.
But how can they be fired?
No, that is a law. That is a law. At a certain position when you come in, there are certain cadre that you are allowed to recruit in your tenure.
Okay.
And you see what happened. You see the previous one held when the ones who are there, their contract was tied to the tenure of William Ruto. So when he left, they left. Those jobs needed to be done.
So even the gardeners left, or Ruto?
They did.
Okay.
The contracts expired.
Okay.
You see when Africa is raising such things, these are the things that are making the larger part of the population of Kenya very angry, because it's a population of the young people. But then instead of creating spaces where we develop a country, we just have a replication of, roles, perhaps. The bigger question would be then, you want to lead this country. How different would you do it? And how would you deal with this youth bulge? Because you have a big population of about 70% who are young people and jobless.
Now I think we are talking. I think now we are living nitty-gritties that are really, in my view, not very necessary. What do we do with our young population? That's the crux of the matter. It's actually a national crisis. And I have been with some young people who came to see me yesterday, content creators. We've been together, we spent the whole night together, just asking ourselves, what do we do with the youth question? The people who are graduating every day to the job market, it's about 1 million people. And there is no absorption capacity. And I am saying that from where I sit, my first priority as president is to sit down with my people to come up with a very clear program on how to create job opportunities. And one of the ways is import substitution, so that we stop importing everything from China, from Japan, from where, and create factories here so that we can create employment. And once you create employment here, you also automatically enlarge the tax bracket, because those people who are employed, they start paying pay as you earn, and that will help, the Kenya Revenue Authority to get revenue for development. So we must look at ways of how to stop importing things and try to impress upon foreigners, instead of us importing steel from China, to come and create a factory here to produce steel, so that the people who own that factory can employ our young people to work there. Agro-processing, value addition. There are very many great opportunities in this country where we can create employment for our young population. Again, we must look at issues of financial inclusion. Not everybody must get a white-collar job. Our young people are very innovative and they are very creative. I've just been talking to them. What we need to come up with is a very good program on how we can provide affordable credit to our young people and train them on how to manage those funds so that they can create jobs for themselves and for their brothers and sisters and their friends and their cousins. So as far as I'm concerned,
whether you're trading silver with a high-risk appetite or playing it safe, waiting for the market to heat up before...
The greatest challenge to any leader and to the 6th President of the Republic of Kenya is how to create more job opportunities. It is how to get our young population to become participants in the economic growth of this country. As it is today, they are just there at home, and that is why they are getting into problems. Through peer pressure, they get involved into alcoholism, into drug abuse. Others are committing suicide. Others are having depression. The new government must be very deliberate in trying to create opportunities for our young people, And I believe that those opportunities exist. It's only that there must be political goodwill. We must have a government that is willing to go out of its way to create opportunities for our young people. And this will be done through manufacturing, agro-processing, where we can start small cottage industries, even in the rural areas, where we can have a coffee popping machine, where we can have people packing tea, where we can have people packing avocado, where we just create opportunities through agro-processing and value addition for our crops, because Kenya is basically an agricultural country and there are very many opportunities. Again, is where the Juakali sector, we make sure that we are not having foreigners competing with our people. It cannot be. Today, when you go to Gekomba and Kamukunji, the Chinese have taken over our economy. They are bringing things and they are also hawking the same. Instead of bringing whatever they are bringing and sell to our people to hawk and create a business opportunity, they are actually doing the hawking themselves. But I'm of the opinion, to the extent possible, we have import substitution. Anything that we can manufacture in this country, instead of importing from China, we go there and have a conversation with the Chinese investors, give them tax holidays, give them economic incentives to come and start those factories here in Nairobi. Transfer the factory from Beijing to Nairobi or Mombasa. The same factory, instead of doing it there and giving work to the Chinese people, bring the factory here in Nairobi and they can employ the people of Kenya. That is what I would be pursuing, and I'm persuaded that within 5 years, we would make remarkable progress and absorb a huge population of our young people into giving for employment.
Okay,
See,
sorry.
we've
let me
had these
just
promises
finish
before.
this. Before we go to the promises, the question would be, you are making this decision for the young people as the older generation, and you're saying you've been talking to the young people. What is the place of the young people in this decision-making such that they're not on the menu to be consumed, but they are the people coming up with the menu?
Absolutely. Last night, one of a guy I had, he's called Chris Kirubi. He interviewed me. We had more than 14,000 people watching the program. And he told me, Rigiji, we love you, we trust you. But believe you me, if you give you this job and you let us down, we will turn against you the way we have turned against Ruto. I am aware that these people cannot take promises. They want action. My very honest proposal to the young people, and I'm talking to them, we want them to be part of the decision-making process. We want them to come to the table so that we make these decisions together, so that when things go wrong, they don't pay for my blood. We hang together. I am saying that the administration that I want to lead, the young people will be part of the decision-making process. I want to bring young people to work with experienced people. I want to have a blend of experience and proven track record, working with youthful, energetic, innovative young people. A combination of the two is what this country needs. Experienced old hearts, people who have seen it, who can mentor young people, and then the young people have the energy to drive what has been agreed on. They are innovative, they are creative, they are knowledgeable, they have exposure. I am proposing a government that has a mixture of experienced, tested group of people working together with young, energetic, creative, young people. I don't think with a combination of the two we can get it wrong. I am persuaded we cannot get it wrong. If you come to my party, DCP, I've already started our model. Out of the national executive of 32 people, 17 are below the age of 35. DCP has become the party of the moment, courtesy of those young people. They challenge us with great ideas every day. I've told you since yesterday, I've spent 2 days with the young people. If you look at TikTok, you see the programs we are making with them. And I'm a better person than I was before I came to Nyeri yesterday. I have known many things I did not know. Courtesy of engaging, listening, and taking seriously what the young people are saying. My administration will be made up of both. And the young people will be part of the decision-making process. They will be on the table, they will not be the menu. And they will drive the changes that we so desire. And I have told them very clearly that they must start by driving the change that we desire. And they have the capacity and the numbers. They are the majority in this country. They are incorruptible. They cannot be bribed by anybody. They are tribeless. And they have a determination and a zeal that has